Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a big one, a real cornerstone of English literature, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
Absolutely. A novel that, gosh, even after 200 years, still feels incredibly relevant and witty, doesn't it?
It really does. So for this deep dive, we've looked at, well, the essentials. Jane Austen's Wikipedia page, the Jane Austen Society of North America's take on Pride and Prejudice, and the novel's own Wikipedia entry.
Good sources. They give us the biography, the publication story, how people reacted then and now, and the big themes.
Exactly. And our goal today, our mission, if you like, is to figure out why. Why does this book, written so long ago, still grab us? We want to look at how it came about, what people thought at first, and what makes it, well, timeless.
Sounds great. So where do we start? Its origins, I suppose.
Yeah, let's dig into the genesis. It wasn't originally called Pride and Prejudice, was it?
No, that's right. It actually started life as First Impressions. Austen began writing it between October 1796 and August 1797. She was really young, only about 20.
Wow, 20. So, First Impressions. That title alone seems significant, given the plot.
It really is. It points right to those initial judgments, doesn't it? Especially Elizabeth's and Darcy's.
So what happened with that early draft? I know her father was quite supportive.
He was. Reverend George Austen, he wrote to a London publisher, Cadell and Davies, in November 1797.
Oh, really? What did he offer them?
He offered them the manuscript, describing it as a 3-volume novel, roughly the length of Fanny Burney's Evelina, which was very popular. He clearly saw something special in it.
That was pretty forward thinking of him. How did the publisher react?
Not well. They rejected it pretty much immediately, sent back a refusal by return post, didn't even ask to see the manuscript.
Ouch. You'd think the Evelina comparison might have at least piqued their interest. So First Impressions just sat there for a while.
Sort of. Austen worked on other things, what became Sense and Sensibility and Northanger Abbey, but she obviously didn't forget First Impressions.
Right.
It wasn't until after Sense and Sensibility was published and did well, around 1811, that she went back to it. She revised it quite heavily between 1811 and 1812.
Okay, so that's when it transformed into the Pride and Prejudice we know.
That seems to be the case, and the title change, Pride and Prejudice, was probably smart. Another novel called First Impressions had actually been published in 1800.
Practical reasons too. But the new title just fits perfectly, doesn't it?
It really does. It captures those central character flaws and themes so well.
Now, something else I found interesting, the setting. Wikipedia suggests the novel's events might be set slightly earlier than when she was revising it, around the mid-1790s.
Yes, that's based on the references to the militia. Wickham and the regiment being stationed in Meryton and later Brighton.
Wait, what's the clue there?
Well, the presence of temporary militia camps and then the later completion of permanent barracks seems to pin the timeline to roughly 1793 to 1795. This lines up with the period after France declared war on Britain, when the militia was mobilized, but proper barracks weren't fully built everywhere yet.
That's a neat bit of historical detail woven in. It adds a layer of realism.
Definitely. It grounds the story in a specific time and place, even amidst the social maneuvering.
And speaking of the original version, First Impressions, there's speculation it might have been an epistolary novel, written entirely in letters. Is that plausible?
It's certainly possible. Pride and Prejudice itself relies so heavily on letters to drive the plot forward, reveal character, convey crucial information.
Like Darcy's big explanation letter.
Exactly. That letter is a huge turning point. Given how important letters are in the final version, it's quite likely the original First Impressions might have used that format even more, perhaps exclusively. We don't have the manuscript, so we can't be sure, but it's a strong possibility.
Fascinating to think about. Okay, back to the title Pride and Prejudice. It sounds so definitive. Was Austen the first to use that specific phrase?
Not exactly. The phrase itself, Pride and Prejudice, had appeared before in literature. But there's a very strong connection, people think, to Fanny Burney's novel, Cecilia.
Oh, Burney again. How so?
Well, the final chapter of Cecilia actually uses the phrase Pride and Prejudice, in all caps, 3 times to sum up the heroine's difficulties.
Wow.
Yeah. Given Austen admired Burney's work, it seems, highly probable that this was a direct influence, maybe even a conscious nod.
That's a great literary connection.
Yeah.
So, after all this time, the revisions, the title change, how did it finally get into print?
Well, after Sense and Sensibility's success, things were a bit easier. Her brother Henry helped negotiate with the publisher, Thomas Egerton. And this time, Austen decided to sell the copyright outright.
Outright. How much did she get for it?
She sold it in January 1813 for £110.
£110. For Pride and Prejudice, that seems like Not very much, even then.
It wasn't, especially compared to what she could have made. Egerton took all the risks, but also kept all the profit. Unlike Sense and Sensibility, which she published on commission.
Right, where she shared the risk, but also the potential profit.
Exactly. Estimates suggest Egerton probably made something like £450 just from the first 2 editions. If Austen had published on commission, she might have earned closer to $475 herself.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Almost double her father's annual income, apparently. A tough lesson in publishing, maybe.
It certainly highlights the financial realities for authors, especially women authors at the time.
So when did the public finally get their hands on it?
It was published on January 28, 1813. It came out as a 3-volume set priced at 18 shillings.
And did it mention her name? Or was she still anonymous?
Still anonymous. The title page just said, by the author of Sense and Sensibility, leveraging her previous success, you see.
Smart move. And how did it go down? What was the initial reaction?
It was a hit. Really positive almost immediately. The first edition sold out within the year.
That's fast.
Yeah, so they brought out a second edition that same autumn in 1813 and then a third in 1817. Critics were generally very favorable too.
What did they like about it specifically?
They really praised its realism, particularly the depiction of everyday domestic life. And the wit, of course. One review called it very superior in its portrayal of families and manners compared to other novels of the day. The characters felt natural.
And Elizabeth Bennet, was she an instant star?
Oh, absolutely. Readers and critics loved her from the start. Austen herself knew she'd created someone special. She wrote to her sister Cassandra right after publication saying, I must confess that I think her as delightful a creature as ever appeared in print.
She wasn't wrong. It's hard to imagine literature without Lizzie Bennet.
Definitely. She felt pretty good about the book overall, it seems.
Okay, let's shift to why it's endured. That famous opening line about marriage. It sets the stage, but what's Austen really exploring there? It's more than just romance, isn't it?
Oh, much more. That line is famously ironic, of course. Marriage is central, yes, but Austen uses it as a lens to look at, well, economics, class, and the sheer lack of options for women in the Regency era.
Right. For the Bennet girls, marriage isn't just desirable, it's basically an economic necessity.
Precisely. Mrs. Bennet's obsession isn't just fussiness. It's rooted in the harsh reality that if her daughters don't marry well, their futures are incredibly precarious given the entail on Longbourn.
And Darcy's first proposal really highlights the conflict between feeling and social standing.
It does, quite brutally. He basically spells out how he's fighting his feelings because her family connections are, inferior. He acknowledges the social gap as a major obstacle in his own mind.
And Lady Catherine de Bourgh later just screams those objections out loud.
Exactly. She embodies that rigid class prejudice, horrified at the idea of Darcy marrying someone like Elizabeth who lacks wealth and connections. It's all about maintaining the established social order for her.
The book also makes subtle distinctions within the wealthy class, doesn't it? Like between the Bingleys and Darcy.
Yes, that's interesting. The Bingleys' money comes from trade, which, while substantial, wasn't seen as quite the same as Darcy's inherited land and status. They're new money, to some extent.
Renting Netherfield versus owning Pemberley.
Right. It adds another layer to the social hierarchy Austen is depicting. And it makes Bingley, perhaps, seem a bit more attainable initially.
There's also a mention of surnames, like Fitzwilliam and de Bourgh, hinting at an older aristocracy.
That's a subtle touch, yes. Those names often have Norman origins, suggesting a longer, more established lineage compared to, say, Bingley or even Bennet. It whispers about deeper historical roots of class.
Beyond marriage and class, the real core seems to be the personal growth of Elizabeth and Darcy, their journey towards self-knowledge.
Absolutely central. That's arguably what makes the novel so satisfying and enduring. Both Elizabeth and Darcy start out flawed, blinded by their pride and their prejudices, their initial judgments.
And they have to confront those flaws.
Yes, through their interactions, their clashes, and ultimately through moments of quite painful self-realization. Elizabeth's big moment comes in chapter 36, after reading Darcy's letter.
When she realizes she'd been blind, partial, prejudiced, absurd.
Exactly. She sees how her own vanity influenced her judgment of both Darcy and Wickham. It's a powerful turning point. And Darcy, of course, has to overcome his own snobbery and arrogance.
And Austen is clever in how she aligns us, the readers, with Elizabeth initially. We share her perspective.
She really does, primarily through the use of free, indirect speech. We get access to Elizabeth's thoughts and feelings, see the world largely through her eyes, so we often share her initial biases.
Which makes her eventual change of heart feel earned, for us too.
Precisely. It draws us into her journey of understanding.
And letters play such a key role in shifting those perspectives. Darcy's letter again.
That letter is pivotal. It provides his side of the story, exposes Wickham's true character, and forces Elizabeth and the reader to completely reevaluate everything she thought she knew. It shatters her prejudice.
So the title Pride and Prejudice really does nail those central internal conflicts.
It couldn't be more perfect. And while, as we said, she might have borrowed the phrase, Austen absolutely owns it through her exploration of how these traits affect both Elizabeth and Darcy. It's not just one character having pride and the other prejudice. They both grapple with both.
The novel also seems to comment on parenting and social influence, doesn't it? Through the Bennets, maybe?
Yes, definitely. Mr. Bennet's detachment and Mrs. Bennet's, well, foolishness are shown to contribute to the behavior of the younger girls, especially Lydia.
Lydia's lack of discipline seems directly linked to that lack of guidance.
It does. And conversely, Kitty's improvement when she spends time away from Lydia with her older sisters suggests that social environment and better role models can make a difference. It's a subtle critique of upbringing.
It's amazing how Austen packs so much social commentary and psychological depth into what, on the surface, is a romance about country gentry.
That's her genius, isn't it? As Anna Quinlan said, it's really about the search for self, but played out within the drawing rooms and daily lives of ordinary, albeit well-off people. It's not about grand adventures. It's about finding yourself in the everyday.
A departure from the more escapist novels popular at the time.
Yes, Austen was doing something different. While she engaged with genres like the Gothic, as in Northanger Abbey, she often did so to gently mock their conventions or contrast them with reality. Her focus was on realism, on disciplined observation of human nature.
And her contemporaries recognized that realism, didn't they? Walter Scott, for instance.
They did. Scott, reviewing Emma, praised her knack for copying from nature as found in common walks of life. He admired how she captured the world as it really was without excessive romanticizing.
We also have to mention the wit. The irony is just brilliant.
Oh, absolutely essential. It's what makes reading Austen such a joy, that sharp, ironic humor. John Bailey called it a saving grace. She's really seen as the first great female comic novelist in English.
Influenced by Samuel Johnson's ideas about literature reflecting life with mirth.
That's the connection many critics make, yes. Her wit isn't just for laughs, it's a tool for social critique, delivered with a lightness that still lands effectively.
And placing it firmly in the Regency era, how did that specific time period shape the story?
Well, the social codes, the expectations, especially for women, they're fundamental. As we touched on, the dependence on marriage for social and economic security was a defining feature of the era for women of Austen's class. That pressure underpins the entire plot.
So we know Walter Scott liked it early on, but did its reputation stay universally high?
Not entirely. Opinions shifted over the 19th century. Some found it, well, a bit too tame or confined.
Like Charlotte Bronte.
Exactly. Bronte admired Austen's craft, but found her scope too narrow, lacking the passion and drama she favored. And then there's a Mark Twain.
Ah, yes, Mark Twain. He wasn't a fan, was he?
Chuckles. Not remotely. He had some very colorful things to say about wanting to dig her up and hit her with her own shin bone every time he tried to read Pride and Prejudice.
Goodness. Strong feelings there.
Very. And interestingly, Austen herself apparently had some reservations later, wondering if the playfulness and epigrammaticism were maybe a bit too much.
Fascinating. The author's own critique. But despite Twain and maybe Bronte, it's safe to say the novel's status now is pretty secure.
Oh, completely. It consistently tops favorite book polls. It's studied everywhere. The 200th anniversary back in 2013 saw huge celebrations worldwide. Its place is cemented.
And surely the adaptations have played a massive role in that continued popularity.
Undeniable. Film, TV, theater. They keep introducing the story to new audiences. You have the classic 1940 film, the iconic 1995 BBC series with Colin Firth.
The wet shirt scene.
Chuckles, that one. And the 2005 film with Keira Knightley. Even modern takes like the Elizabeth Bennet Diaries web series show how adaptable the core story is.
And it's not just screen adaptations. There's a whole cottage industry of books inspired by it.
Yeah.
Right? Sequels, prequels, retellings.
Oh, countless. Everything from murder mysteries set at Pemberley to modern updates like Eligible. It just shows how deeply these characters and this world have lodged themselves in our cultural imagination. People just want more of it.
So wrapping up our deep dive, it's clear Pride and Prejudice is so much more than just a delightful romance. It's this incredible really rich mix of character study, social commentary, and, well, timeless truths.
Absolutely. It gives you these unforgettable characters, this sharp look at society, and these enduring themes: love, class, money, and that really crucial journey towards knowing yourself, warts and all. That's why it still speaks to us, to you, the listener, today.
It really offers such insight into the pressures of that specific time, but also into the universal human experience of, making judgments, getting things wrong, and hopefully learning and growing.
So we definitely encourage you, if you haven't recently, to maybe revisit the novel, or perhaps explore Austen's other works, or check out one of the many adaptations.
And maybe think about this as you do. What part of Pride and Prejudice, which character or theme, feels most relevant or powerful to you right now? It's a question that keeps the conversation going, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It keeps the novel alive.